Well, first of all, Heidi and I have been doing creative projects together for 20 years. And that's everything from writing short stories, to writing full-length scripts, to doing animations, interactive educational games, children's entertainment websites, and a number of short films. That all helps, but nothing fully prepares you for the undertaking of your first feature film.
You're dealing with people, you're dealing with food, you're dealing with costumes, you're dealing with story, location, music, and then some. So I think that, being able to take on that challenge was just, the best thing in the world.
Okay, so we got 102 done, 65 done, 63 done, 66 done, 64 done. Wow. 67 we already did. We did that up north. That was the bicycle on the bridge. Yeah. Is that doable? The red to come? I think so. I need to work down. On the red. A lot of times you heard it said that good directing, 90% of good directing is good casting. Not only is that true, but in good casting, I would also include the crew, because if you get the right people who are talented, who are good workers, and they're people you can work with on a day-to-day basis in stressful situations, then you really are almost 90% there.
When we first started, we thought, oh, well, these people have to be of high school age, but they have to be experienced enough to handle the part and do the role. So we looked towards colleges and their drama departments.
And so my association really early on was helping Tom set up auditions in Boston and conceivably in New York. He really didn't know how far he would have to go to complete the obligations of casting.
And so Tom and I spent 4 days in Boston going through a number of auditions with a number of other producers sitting watching these actors trying out for whatever parts they could get. And we came back with a huge stack of photos of headshots and resumes and everything you could think of.
Well, I played David McNeil, and he fits in the story. He's trying to figure out where to go after his dad leaves, and he's trying to prove himself by playing basketball, basically by doing what his father had done.
Sarah, and she is the mother of the main guy, and she is a single mother trying to kind of support her son and figure out her own life, and yeah.
We saw over 500 auditions for the cast, and everywhere from high schools and colleges in New Hampshire to large casting sessions down in Boston. And when we had these folks assembled, we told them that, we're not going to tell you exactly what to do, exactly how to say every line. If we wanted to do that, we wouldn't have bothered to work so hard to get people whose talent we trusted.
Preferably in my own trailer. You got that? Got that?
He's not getting his own trailer.
Right from the start, we had people getting involved because it was a story that they felt passionate about, not just Tom and I. So to have that kind of bond with this story when times got difficult, like extremely cold temperatures, and you felt so bad because the casters they'd come in and their hands would be freezing.
One night in particular, there's one scene in the movie where Dribbles is beat up by a group of young people. And we were filming that on a very, very cold evening. The evening that we were filming that was about 15 below zero.
It's one of those things that if you're like in California pretending to be cold in 90-degree weather wearing a parka and the air conditioning's running but sweat is dripping down your body, it's much easier to be cold standing outside.
They knew that they were telling a good story, and they were willing to put up with some of the situations that made it difficult for them because they felt so strongly about it. And I think it shows in the end result.
We were kind of overlapping with a real school day. We would be coming in as early as we could after scheduled programming in the high school, so there still would be many students around.
And I love detail, so as an actor. So in terms of being able to draw on the details that those kids have created for me was was like a wealth of information. It was great.
But there just was kind of an atmospheric thing that allowed it to ring true. There just were sounds and smells and just kind of an energy of youthful anarchy that you just would sense when you were coming in.
There was a few funny moments when, you know, all the students who were actually in school would come and peep through the doors and the windows to see what was going on. That was funny.
To see the interaction between our actors and some of the female high school students, because it gave our male actors some probably remembrances of what it was like to be in high school and see a lot of young girls teeing over them.
Steam, pressure. No, I just don't belong here in high school. I mean, I graduated college already, but hey, high school kids are kicking my butt.
The thing is, you just would give a lot of glances. I mean, Dribbles' character, in terms of his costume and in terms of his personal hygiene, the way that he was created by makeup and design people, is that he was just not a terribly appealing person to look at. So, I mean, you just would see people kind of, you know, clearing to the opposite side of the hallway when you'd be walking down with your broom. But I usually would just kind of get a broom and begin just kind of working in the hallway, just kind of cleaning up as though it, in fact, was my school.
I flipped throw-in one day. I do it for soccer. I took a basketball and I did it, and I got it in from across the court. But of course, it wasn't caught on tape.
Now, I also told Bob, I also want to take a breather and sit back and see how many shots he's actually in.
Imagine planning 28 to 30 wedding receptions that all happen consecutively, and every single day you're worried about the band showing up and it not raining and everything else that could possibly go wrong. And you have a little bit of an idea then of what it's like to do a small budget feature film.
On the second day of shooting, we had a major crowd scene, and things almost came to a screeching halt because I couldn't be there. I was so busy trying to wrap up end lines for the gymnasium and trying to get props ready and everything for the rest of the production that all of a sudden having a crowd of people going, now what do we do? You know, now where do we go? What do we eat?
So, I play Skater Kid. But right now, I'm the boom operator. I was promoted from the reflecty thingy holder that wasn't working when the original boom operator had to go home.
We were actually watching Rocky, and we watched the behind the scenes, and we found out that the actors for Rocky, which at that time was a low-budget film and extremely well done, that they had given their actors the assignment to go out and look for their own wardrobe, and we thought that that was a really good exercise for these actors to be able to get into character.
On the first day of shooting, we were filming in a real convenience store that was open while we were filming. Now, you have to understand that on a low-budget film like this, the equipment is much smaller, the crew's much smaller. In many cases, we were using mostly existing lighting and maybe just a little extra artificial lighting or some reflector cards to bounce light where we needed it. So it wasn't always obvious that there was a big film crew in here making a movie if you weren't paying attention. In the scene we were shooting, Bob playing Dribbles, Bob Shea, who was playing Dribbles, is arguing with the girl at the checkout because he doesn't have enough money to pay for his groceries. So while we were shooting it, a real customer in the store, not a part of the movie, came walking into the shot and was trying to give Bob a little bit of money to help him pay for his groceries. And we kind of had to cut the shot and explain to this woman that while we greatly appreciated the financial support, it was really just a scene from a movie.
I mean, there's so much stuff today. It's shot on small cameras with minimal crews. I mean, it all gets down to the scenes themselves and the moments the actors create. So whether it's a big budget or a small budget, it doesn't make that much difference.
music in the film is interesting because it's a combination of both local performers and a musician from halfway around the world. One of the first times that Heidi and I decided that we were going to do Dribbles was when we went to an outdoor concert in Goffstown, New Hampshire, a free concert out on the Common, and we were going to see a band called The Whatnot, and we didn't know anything about them. And we were sitting there on the grass listening to this band's music, and the thought struck us both at the same time, would this be great music for Dribbles?
I'm staring at the page, I fight to stay awake.
Alright, this still good, Wish I could say the same for my nutsy nuts.
And I digress, the words right in front of me.
And we knew we would need more than just the Whatnot songs we had in the soundtrack. We knew we needed some more songs, and we did a little research, and we found a band called the Everyday Visuals. They had started out as a Manchester, New Hampshire-based band, and they're now a Boston-based band. They also have a very youthful sound. It's a little bit different than the Whatnot, perhaps a little bit more edgy, and that fit very well with David's character. So there are a number of the Everyday Visuals tunes in the soundtrack.
Cupcakes are brought to your face. They're like yellow cupcakes with like chocolate.
Now those songs were not written specifically for the movie. So the music that was written specifically for the movie, the orchestrated score, was written by an old friend of mine named John Sharpley, whom I had gone to Boston University with. John, however, now lives in Singapore, literally half a way around the world from New Hampshire. But the challenge was, how would we do it? First of all, we sent him a DVD with a cut of the film on it, and he would look at that, and he would actually perform some music using a MIDI keyboard on his computer and send us MP3 files, which we would then cut to the scenes and stream them as video clips so that John could see them and we could see them while talking on a voice-over internet protocol telephone and talk about what worked and what didn't. So the music that you hear in Dribbles is a film that was produced in New Hampshire with music that was composed and conducted and performed halfway around the world in Singapore and transferred over the internet so that it could wind up in our film.
Generating the look of the film, as far as like in the art direction, was a huge challenge. We were able to go into a real high school, but that high school was not Lakeshore High School. We ended up having to create end lines for the gymnasium, as well as try to transform it. They allowed us to paint on the mural on the pads. The artwork in the film came from many years of artwork that I had generated, from portfolio pieces done in college to high school drawings to, just numerous pieces of artwork that were pulled from my portfolio, as well as ones created especially for the film.
It was amazing how well they worked together. And, I mean, especially Heidi running around, everybody wearing like 5 hats. The sound gentleman, Bruce, I think is Heidi's brother. It was such a family, collaborative, people bringing food. It just had a really nice synergy about it.
It was nice. I think it kind of allowed me to be a little more comfortable, because it did really feel like a family-run production, so it was easy to kind of step into that.
It was a big undertaking for them, doing it all themselves, and, if someone wasn't going to do it, they were going to do it by themselves, and bring it to fruition that way.
It's exactly what you'd like to happen when you do a play or when you do a film or when you're working on a particular artistic project, is art has a way of just kind of creating a mini community with a real soul, which is kind of the artistic spirit of the work. And I think that's what happened here.
A big lesson, and it was fun. It was just a nice environment to be around. And it was the first time I really thought about doing film and about the fact that it's like documentation as opposed to theater, where, after a 6-month run or whatever it is, it's gone. I love the fact that it's here's this, I did this, and when I'm 80, I can show my grandkids or something like that.
The way that people relate to Dribbles in the play more or less demonstrates their moral stance.
Prejudice.
Yeah, generosity, maturity, generosity.
Dribbles is largely about trophies. The jacket that David wants to get is a kind of a trophy. And we give out trophies for athletic achievement, and we give out trophies for academic achievement, and we give out trophies in the business world. What we don't often do is give out a trophy or some sort of symbol of accomplishment for just being a decent person, for just doing the right thing, the little things, day to day. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we did? And what would that be like?
There's a lot of people out there that I know, I'd like to speak for Tom as well, that I think when watching Dribbles would say, wow, you know, somebody is out there is connecting and trying to show that, you know, there is decent society. There are good things that can happen.